Sorry, it's 5 o'clock, everybody, we're gonna get going. Please stand for the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Arcuri?
Here.
Mr. Bova?
Here.
Mr. Brodsky?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Mr. Coyne?
Here.
Mr. D'Elia?
Here.
Mr. Ford? Mr. Kane? Mr. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Rotolo?
Here.
Ms. Sesney? Here. Mr. Wallace?
You have the July 17, 2017 draft minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve? A second? Any additions, corrections, deletions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Award cybersecurity assessment mandate, the notes and miscellaneous tab of your packet. Who's taking care of this guy?
I'll give a quick introduction and then we'll turn it over to Jim Mack and Frank Matolo, who heads up the operations committee that looked at this. But essentially, and I think we mentioned this in the past, New York State has mandated that we conduct a cybersecurity
Unfunded mandate.
Unfunded, yes, very good. Unfunded study to look at all of our IT connections in and out for all of our various pieces of our platform, our SCADA system that operates remote devices in the field, our internet access, everything. And this needs to be done on a fairly tight timetable. We want the results by the end of the calendar year and reporting in with recommendations. And so we had to scramble. We found out about it very late. Apparently they were contemplating this in January. They sent some notifications out in April. We didn't find out about it until June. And so, or late May, I guess. So by June, we were talking to vendors and getting proposals. And those proposals came in. The operations committee then reviewed them. And between Jim Mack and Frank Matolo, they've met with a number of the vendors, discussed it very thoroughly, invited them in, met with them here in person. And I don't know, Frank, do you want to take it from there?
Yes. The proposal that was sent out by Jim was the actual document from the Department of Health. Some vendors didn't respond to it, FireEye being one, and Booz Allen, two of the larger contractors. So of the responses we did get, just reviewing the proposal that they submitted, the two that were clearly in the front were International Business Machinery, IBM, and Gray Castle. They addressed pretty much every point in the recommended document and above. We interviewed both of those companies, IBM in person and part of their team on the phone. Gray Castle didn't show up at all. The person who was leading up the team for them took that day off, and we ended up with his supervisor. They gave us a run-of-the-mill answer, didn't really answer any questions in detail, and kind of sloughed off a lot of the important stuff, the SCADA systems and how they would do things. We grilled them pretty good on what devices they would look at, how they would look at them. IBM was the clear winner. There was really no question. Because of the time constraints of the mandate from the state, we're kind of limited what we can do. So based on that, IBM was also the most expensive.
You think?
Yeah, by a long shot.
But what is the, I mean, there's 4 proposals or 4 quotes.
Yes.
I mean, it's got to make you question, why would Bonadeo be so much less than IBM?
Because they don't do this. They're an accounting firm. They try to sell risk management as a service. They're not qualified to do this. I deal with Bonadeo every year, the last 4 years, with their audits, as it pertains to IT audits. It's the same questions over and over again. They read off a list, and that's the extent of it. This is not an accounting operation.
No, I know that, but we use Bonadeo too, but we don't use that for cyber.
Yeah, it's not an accounting function.
Well, did they respond?
They responded with a one-page quote. Jim Mack and Sue can provide all the quotes to anyone that really wants them, and you can read through them for yourself.
So they didn't say that they would comply with the requirements?
I'll have it in front of me, to be honest with you, so. Do you have it, Jim?
No, well, they were having a difficult time understanding.
Jim, can you speak up just a tiny bit?
They were having a difficult time even understanding the SCADA system, how it works, so they were really behind on it. And it's one of our main goals with this is to adjust any vulnerabilities within the SCADA system.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability possibilities, from internal and external. Again, of the firms that we spoke to and read their proposals, the only one that was clearly understanding every aspect of it, every detail of it in great detail was IBM. So it's the board's decision. If there is the opportunity to do this in-house as well. I don't think we're up to that task as an organization.
Did we send it down to a company like Wilson Company? Did you hear of that?
No. FireEye is one of the biggest emergency response companies in the world. They're the ones that people call after they have major breaches to come and fix things. Booz Allen is a defense contractor out of the base. They're also a national company. IBM and Gray Castle. Gray Castle I've never heard of. Jim came up with them. Angelin is Tony Martino and Company. And Bombio is obviously an accounting firm.
Angelin's out of Utica College Group.
Yeah, well, yes. Not represented by Utica College.
Right.
Just some of the partners.
And what was their,
They're, the attitude in some of these proposals, if you read them or you spoke to anybody, is like, yeah, it's no big deal, you know? We could do this in 2 afternoons or something. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not necessarily comfortable spending $102,000 either. But we have time constraints, and I don't know if the state is going to relax any of those, give us more time, because we did start the process. We are seeking proposals. But from what was presented to us in paper or in person, it just is, it was clear cut.
So this is basically having someone come in to evaluate the cybersecurity
Everything.
system of just...
Everything.
I mean, we're not talking water systems, we're just talking about our system, correct? I mean, as far as...
Vulnerabilities to your system from outside,
cybersecurity attack?
from outside attackers, from inside attackers, from employees, how
So, I
things
mean,
are
I guess-
accessed, how things are managed.
And this is being mandated, obviously, by the state, from what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes, it is.
Have they given us any indication of what they're looking for? Are they just saying they want...
Just in here.
So let me just throw this out. I mean, and I understand, I know you guys have done a lot of work on this too, but if one of those groups, let's just take like, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the Angelin, if they were to do it as an initial, like a base review of the system, and it passed the state's requirements, why don't we maybe want to start with them to see what they can, I mean, we're dealing with top officials
Yeah,
there
I
at UC,
understand.
I mean, they've got, I know it's not UC, but they're gonna probably be using a lot of the equipment that's up there, the state-of-the-art stuff. And
It's what you do every day for your work, though, Rob. And what happens if there is a vulnerability? We brought in legal counsel to answer these questions. What are we going to look for in terms of insurance and bonding from the firm that actually carries it out? What happens if there is an attack? What happens if there's something that it wasn't in our scope of work, or we missed that? Or what do you do then? When we're stuck with the liability, who can we go back on? We're going to go back on, a few guys. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think.
no, I don't know much about the company.
Well, I'm just saying,
I'm saying,
when they have a lot of liability facing them, and you're maybe looking for millions of dollars from damages, what is it to say, well, we're out of business, we can't pay that? We need some protection in that. There's a lot at stake here. Hacking into the water systems, doing things, what could they possibly do? I don't really know. They could do a lot of things. They could shut up, they could do multiple things.
Do they provide protection over a period of time?
Yeah, so the other part of this is that we have to have a company that's going to review the current policies and update the current policies and work with us to do that as well. Unfortunately, these presentations weren't done for the entire board or anybody else that wanted to come. And some of them are just, like Leo, for example, is one sheet of paper. So obviously, they didn't have a clear understanding of what they were looking at and passed it off very lightly. Tony's group, a little bit more involved, but not quite.
Is that Great Castle?
No, that's Angel. And Gray Castle seemed to have a little bit more. They didn't really understand SCADA. They've done something similar to it, but they've never done anything with SCADA systems themselves, where IBM has a whole team of people who do SCADA. They have teams of people who do everything. It was impressive. The number's not impressive.
No.
Is there any indemnification, for example, if there was a cyber attack?
That's what we talked to legal counsel about, producing a bond and professional liability and other forms of
But is
insurance.
that going to be, I mean...
Would that be part of this
Is that going to
fee?
be part of the fee?
Yes.
It
Oh,
is.
yes.
Will we know that up front before we sign with them? With
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And for how long?
Well, I don't know, that'd be a legal question. How long would they,
3 days or
No.
3 years or?
Well, generally, you want the insurance to cover for a number of years. I mean, you're not going to do it just for. It's going to be contractually. And I think I put that in the memo about how many years. I think it was 3 years you want them to maintain coverage. The bond is usually the cost of the contract because that's just to make sure the work gets done. Okay, a performance bond is to guarantee performance. The liability insurance is that if something happens and they're responsible for it, that you have the coverage.
But doesn't our liability insurance cover cyber attacks in general? I mean, do we need a...
I know that, I think, Pat, you did have some cyber insurance coverage because I was talking with Gail Valentino about that.
Yeah, we do, and it's a $10 million liability umbrella. So something that cripples our operation that falls under that would be covered. But there's other kinds of liability that might not if customer information or customer consequences occur. I'm not sure how our coverage handles that. They may cover our disaster recovery, but maybe not beyond that.
Is this proposal to do a baseline evaluation and then, because I'm hearing...
comprehensive?
I know, I understand comprehensive, but I mean, is it like the initial piece and then, because what ends up happening later is the state comes back and they'll say, we want it done every 2 years or every year. So does that mean that we have to get into an evaluation is detailed every year, or every 2 years, or every 3 years?
I can't speak to what the state might or might not do in years to come or what they're going to require. It could be just a planned review to make sure that it's still current. So
Every water use system greater than 3,300 has to revisit their vulnerability assessment on a 5-year cycle, or if there's a major change within the utility, that would narrow that down. But generally, every 5 years, you have to update your vulnerability assessment.
So to do a full comprehensive study?
Would that mean we'd have to do the full 102?
Well, that the cybersecurity is only a portion of it, right? So this is like a kickoff for that, essentially. Right? We've been doing vulnerability assessments since 2095, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Would we be doing this but for the state mandate?
yes,
That's-
well, if you're, yes, that's what's driving it.
It's a prudent business practice.
Right, so I mean, I guess the thing is, if they didn't ask us to do this, would we be doing this right now?
Right now,
That's my
maybe not right
question.
now, but at some point, yes. It's something that needs to be done.
I don't disbelieve me, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the biggest threat that's out there right now, cybersecurity. I don't disagree, I think it's a great thing that we're doing, but I guess my concern is just from doing this stuff, you know, they make you start out doing it, and then it's a follow-up, and every year,
Yeah.
and that's where the costs start going up,
Right.
and they start banging it, you know, I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's like every 5 years, you know,
Yeah.
but you don't know if they're gonna come back and say, we want an update every year to make sure that it's been reviewed, and then how much do they want done? Every 5 years, do they want a whole, you know,
Right.
comprehensive study done, or is it, you know, once you have a baseline, can you just keep building on that? I mean,
It's
Yeah, we don't know that right now.
And as you,
More questions than answers.
It's a lot of dough. 102,000 is a lot of dough.
I mean, I guess that's why I was saying, do we start out with someone from a compliance standpoint to make sure that, you know, maybe it might be a bit lower?
Pricey.
And then if they really don't work out, is it worth then maybe going and,
Not the same thing.
And then spending it
Did,
fresh to start over again?
Well, just a question. Did all four or any of the four indicate that they were certified by one
Yes.
of these three?
Yes.
All
They-
four
they
of them
all
said
are.
that?
Well, two of them did, I know for sure.
They all are.
they're all,
All of them said they're certified.
Yes. They have one or three certifications.
Right?
IBM and Gray Castle have them all, and the other two have at least one.
And have we used any of the tools previously for an assessment of our system? So we haven't used any of the AWWA cybersecurity guide or anything else? Do we have a current emergency? Well, I don't want to answer that question.
What will we get for our 65.5? Say we came down off the pinnacle and went to the next level.
They didn't
You would
even
know.
They didn't even
Didn't show
have
up.
I would question that company just for the fact that the person who Jim was dealing with and knew this presentation was due that day. They were gonna come here in person and ended up on the phone. The guy took the day off. So the person that responded on the call wasn't even the person that Jim dealt with, so. I mean, you could read into that any way you want, but it's a lot of money and you're not gonna take it seriously.
No way.
Then
I'm not interested.
And the larger answer is,
He's
we
not
don't really know.
interested, I'm not
Well, that didn't
interested.
explain it.
That's exactly what happened.
He may not be in the day you need him.
But I will say this, I really do respect your expertise in this, and I don't think you'd be advocating spending this kind of money unless you thought it was necessary.
The only reason is because of the time constraints of this mandate from the state. If not, we'd be putting this out to bid again and interviewing a lot more companies.
Are they
mandating an end of the year?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Some wiggle room in that.
No, we call that, I don't know that, by their document, no.
No, it's not. This is their state contract price.
This is the state contract price.
What's the penalty for not meeting the time frame?
They obviously responded to the need and understood what they were doing.
They had different teams on the phone and they had, I think, live people here doing the presentation.
And that's 65.
Yeah, they were working under the time constraints because the next company was coming in after this.
Trying to identify our weaknesses and provide solutions.
Yes.
And they would do that over the 3 years.
This guy didn't even show up.
Well, they're gonna do that as part of the
These
initial
guys are
assessment.
small.
They're gonna look at every system, every way.
I can't have a whole conversation going on at the table. Frank?
Sorry.
No, it's not you, you're supposed to be talking.
So I guess my question is whether or not they would continue to maintain the service for the 3 years, and is that included within this $100,000 figure?
Well, we don't have a contract to look at, so we haven't drawn up a contract. No one's drawn up a contract.
Whether or not they would build on what they have and continue for 3 years so that the $100,000 would actually be
Yes.
cover us for 3 years, I guess, both from the liability and all aspects of it.
Well, the liability was 3 years based on the insurance. The 5 years is from the state, from what Phil was saying.
For the renewal period, for the having to do it over.
The term of the contract, which the term of the contract would be 3 years. Is that
No, the term of the insurance would be 3 years. Term of the contract would be for the assessment. And what's involved in the contract, what we write into that contract for that period of time.
Have you been in contact with any other water systems, and what have they been doing?
Jim, did you talk to Onondaga County? I thought you did, no?
No, I actually talked to Suez a little bit about this, and they were kind of struggling with it too, because it's a state mandate, and they have to deal with it in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, and all the mandates are different.
No kidding.
Yeah.
We we don't know what anybody else is.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
well, I just want to make, it seems that even if the state didn't mandate this, it's something we ought to do. They should look at the system and see what the vulnerabilities
I
are.
agree 100%.
And I think it's a logical thing.
I think it kind of comes down to, we could do the minimum amount necessary to meet the actual requirement, but not get a full understanding of all of our vulnerabilities. Or do we want to, are we going into this just to meet the requirement, or are we going into this to actually make sure that our system is as protected as we can make it, as bulletproof as we can make it? And do we want to earnestly find out every single way the bad guys could try to get inside our system and do us harm? And if that's the case, then we want to make sure the job is as thorough as it can be. And for 3 years, if something does happen, they're going to guarantee that, okay, they found a way in, we didn't discover it, we're protected. The only difference is that 5 years from now, we may have to do it all over again. If we make major changes in our software, then the results obviously are invalid because whatever they looked at has been changed. But barring us changing any access to the outside world, then this report should be good for several years and
Well,
hopefully keep us safe.
their contract is going to be a point-in-time contract.
Right, but it's to
It's not going to
assess-
be 3 years.
To assess
It's going
the
to be
current system.
today, or whatever day that they
Right.
close this thing out.
Right.
And if the next day you put a different computer on the system, you're now, and somebody comes in through that computer.
Right, that's not
It
covered.
doesn't matter, nothing's
right.
covered.
That's
right.
The only thing that's covered perhaps is errors and omissions of what they themselves missed by some chance. You know,
Jim?
the software they used was inappropriate or something.
They are offering us business continuity, management compliance, and system acquisition and development plan to go along with the cybersecurity plan that they have in place. So if we follow that, I'd be a lot more confident than just not following anything and going out like we are now and purchasing. So if we maintain our compliance with this plan, we should have a better chance of being compliant in 5 years and not have to start from ground zero all over again.
See, if I was looking at continuous monitoring and assistance and policy and those sorts of things with an outside firm, I'd be looking at it similar to what we've done with our emergency backup system, hiring a firm who's monitoring all the time. That's what we should be looking at from a management point of view. This is only to comply with the state, because I love IBM, but if you think this is high, putting them in as a regular oversight would cost us $1 million plus a year. So I don't care about IBM. I only care about, I'd like to see the ongoing, just like I did with the firm we hired to take care of our emergency backup and bought all the service. That was the way to go, because we don't have the resource. It would be fine, and it's probably preferable that we have some sort of ongoing relationship with somebody who's constantly it's like an auditor, financial auditor, from an outside looking in, independent, saying, why are you doing this? You know,
But it's simpler, once you do the initial assessment,
Gotta do it
IBM,
first.
it's simpler to hire somebody.
Yeah, we have no baseline.
Yeah,
We have
and it's
no
simpler to
baseline.
hire somebody to say, look, we made a change, what do you think? Because they can already look at what IBM did, you know.
You know, and that, based on what you're saying, that may be a reason to go talk to Angela and say, what would a ongoing relationship look like in the future? And maybe, you know, bid out a couple of other companies, but that's something I think would be worth our while. Let's take care of this, because we have to take care of this, and then look at supporting the staff as we did with our backup system, with outside expertise, and I think that's probably the best way to go.
Well, the recommendation, Frank, is IBM.
Of what's presented to us today and the time that we have to work with, yes, it's the only.
And the same for you, Jim? And Pat?
I agree. As far as paying for it, obviously this wasn't budgeted, but Jim and I were reviewing all of our reserve accounts. We have a variety of reserve accounts. One of them is operations and maintenance. We have a number of other repair and capital renewal funds. This is really an operating item, so you know, there's adequate reserves that we can pull from the operation and maintenance account. So as far as paying for it goes, we have money that will pull out of a reserve account.
Different fund.
And Jim, has that, you didn't pass that sheet around, did you, Jim?
No, if you want to,
I don't know
is
if
there
everybody needs to see
anything,
it.
I don't think I have enough, being mentioned in this request or mandate from the state that once we hire a consultant, come in and take a look and do the assessment, do they want an independent labor to come in and review that work? Has that been
not-
updated, or I don't know?
Not at this point in time.
Don't give them any ideas.
No, I'm just telling you, that expect that to come up,
Yeah.
because it's gonna happen.
The current memo indicates that you can use an outside professional, you can use your inside staff using these tools. And so there is an option.
I'm gonna be short.
I wouldn't do it outside, but I mean, I'm just saying, but that's right now the option. And using a consultant to support your insight, that's what they say in here.
So that first one, operations and maintenance, would be our recommendation as to where to fund this.
What else do you see coming out of this for the remainder of the budget?
Nothing.
Is this the chairman's fund?
No,
The
No,
whole
we're not
thing,
touching that.
that's the
Pardon me?
chair.
We're not touching that.
We've done it before.
Well, this one-
We've done it before to modify our IT system.
I have a clubhouse bill.
We're going to Ava, right?
technically, the whole thing is the chairman's fund, but we've made subdivisions within it.
All right.
The whole thing is called the repair and improvement fund, but we now have subcategories that we use for different purposes. So really, what we're talking about is the bottom line there.
Yeah.
That 3.6 number is where it's coming
Well,
out.
that's if the budget itself can't manage it by the end of the year.
Right, and this is obviously a larger item that was not budgeted. If it was something much less, we'd find a way to pay for it within the budget by shifting some funds around.
Did the state mandate a deadline there? We have to.
Yeah,
January
December
1st, December 31st.
Does someone care to make a motion of some sort?
Did Frank move it as chair of the committee?
You just did. Is there any further discussion regarding this matter?
No, not discussion on this matter, but I would like to see a proposal for some ongoing review outside of this. Once we have a baseline, something that we can compare to our baseline and provide consultant support for IT in this area. I'm surprised we don't have a baseline, that's why. So, obviously, we don't have the staff, we don't have, it's not like they have 15 extra people over there to do this. So, I'd like to see if we can give the corporation some support on an ongoing basis, which I think would be much less expensive than this one-time thing.
Well, that's something we'd ask Frank's committee to take a look at. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Alice, I believe, and maybe Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, as far as our SCADA system, we only have one person. He set it up, and he's the only guy that knows how to run it.
That's a vulnerability.
Right, but I
And
mean, who
that's
should do that now?
Well, that's something that's going to be reviewed and addressed and documented.
That's
If
it.
something happens to this guy, nobody even knows his security.
It's absolutely true. It'll probably
Bring in the
go up.
minutes.
Yeah, we talked about
We
that.
already know it.
Right, it's
So
kind
why
of
wait?
programs
Why don't we
that
do it now?
there's-
Well,
You know?
Well, part of what will happen in this contract is a total review of that system and the layout of it, the documentation, so that's going to advance us much further along the
Yeah.
way of
Recommendations
reducing the
for-
vulnerability.
Well, that's the result of every study. You have to spend this one.
Well, like I say, that we know this part now. So why don't we do something about it now instead of waiting?
Well, we've been waiting this long, and we're now likely to implement a study in order to write down and prepare for the budget, the vulnerabilities. It's probably smart just to wait.
Well, I'm sure after.
It's only gonna be 2 months.
Assessment is done, they're gonna come back with the recommendation.
You know what I mean?
These are the changes you need to make.
We're talking 2 months.
No, we're already.
This is part of the budget.
Any other comments or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Jim, anything on the finance report?
No, in your binders are the July financial report. Consumption is actually up for the year, which is good, and water sales are above budget, above last year's actual. So, and cash flow is doing well, very healthy, so we're looking good.
Any questions for Jim? Thanks, Jim. Pat?
Couple quick items. One, we've been, rolling out more and more connection points for the automated meter reading system. We're now up above 38,500 installations. So we are right around 98% completion at this point. There's roughly 900 or so left to go, and some of those involve actually changing out meters and having to get inside. So those are being tackled. We have a few holdouts, the people that have not let us in, and they're being charged an extra $50 a quarter as a fee for our inconvenience of having to continue to come there and read it. But we're at a point now where with some of those folks, and we've been kicking out letters. We have a notice and a series of letters and then a posting. And we've had people that have ignored 5 attempts for us to contact them. So the next stage with a few, unfortunately, is we're going to have to turn the water off until they comply with us. We have our rules and regs say we have access to that meter and we need to get in there.
From the opposition of them not wanting us to come in, is that telling us?
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes you wonder. So the last, and this is typical, I think, of any kind of rollout, is, there's, towards the tail end, it slows down a little bit as you have problems scheduling and things like that. But the only reason why I bring it up now is we're getting to a point where we will have some options available to us once the system is fully blanketed with radio reading equipment. And one of the things we've talked about for a number of years is whether or not we want to start to move towards monthly billing, which would be possible. So it's something that I think maybe on the 6-month horizon is a topic that we'll begin to focus in on. And we've been already talking internally in some staff meetings we've had about the obstacles and opportunities, but some impediments to being able to do that and how we get around doing that. And so as we kind of flesh that out a little bit more and have some solid alternatives available, then we'll be looking to the board for some input on A, whether or not we move in that direction, and B, in what fashion we might do that. But just be on the lookout over the next several months that monthly billing is something that's going to become an available option for us should we choose to do that. We're almost complete with the project.
I think there's good things that come out of it. I think from the payer, they're going to, it helps them so they're not getting large bills every quarter. The other thing, from a cash flow standpoint, it's going to help us out too.
So there's a lot to be gained by it, and we'll bring that forward to the board as we kind of iron out some of those issues with postage, billing expenses, and printing and things like that. We have to find alternatives. So as we work through those, we'll be reaching out and getting some committee meetings to discuss it. The other one I wanted to mention is on August 1st, we did do the kickoff where we had Suez come on site officially, beginning operations at the treatment plant. I thought we had a very good event up there. It was a kind of all-day first day. We had good media coverage. We were on several different TV stations and follow-up radio coverage afterwards. So far, things are going very well. Phil has been in very, very close contact with the folks at Suez. They've been in here a couple times. We're already talking about things like SCADA and how we accomplish, access from their system into our system and back and forth. And so some of the things that you just mentioned, Denny, are already on the radar screen for being able to do backup and emergency responses and things of that nature. But so far, so good. I don't know, Phil, if there's anything you wanted to add to that, but it's going on schedule. And we think the full cutover date by the end of the calendar year is going to stay right on schedule. Employees up there seem to be flourishing in that environment. Doing very well, so we're happy with the results at this point. The other big item that I have is something that we need to, I think, reserve for executive session. It does involve negotiation, so I will reserve that for now. So unless there's any other questions, I'll reserve the rest for executive session.
Have we lost any employees up there?
2 of the people that were up there took retirement. The rest of the employees did accept employment with Suez and are currently working as Suez employees and are on their payroll. So everybody's been absorbed except for those that decided that they were going to just activate their pensions and stop working. So.
Any other questions for Pat? Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? We need a motion to go into executive session regarding potential contract negotiations. Second? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you.